Well, this might be a good time for us to actually talk about, since you brought up fibromyalgia, let's talk a little bit about the Fibro-Ease and
Okay.
how it works. You've talked a bit about it. Let's talk a little bit more about it.
Okay, it's actually a very simple formula. One day I was working with a patient, and I had this inspiration. She had really bad fibromyalgia. You can actually read about it on the website, and also Life Enthusiasts. They have a lot of the testimonials. And I was thinking, what actually allows fibrin to occur? Or what is the nutrition that actually allows fibrin to break down and to be reabsorbed by the body? Well, when I thought of that, it became actually very clear to me what the problem was. We designed a very, very simple formula. As I said, it only has 5 herbs, only 4 are active, and one of them actually is a director herb. So again, what it does is it goes in and it literally plugs in. So sort of think of like, here's the problem caused by the lack of this particular element in the body. Now, actually what causes this, and this is not my research, this is actually medical research, is an over-estrogenization of the system. When that happens, it inhibits this particular element. It's actually in the rarefied potassium strata, an unusual aspect of that. But it appears in these particular herbs. Putting it together, this is what it does. So let's say the problem is over here. Now, we cannot go in underneath that and correct this particular problem, which is hormonal in nature. We could design a formula for every person on the earth that has it, and in 2 days, we would need to rectify and change the formula. But what we can do is we can go right over that, go into that chemical chain, add something into there, and it corrects it. So as a result, that signal then the body getting is the correct signal on what to do. Otherwise, it's given an incorrect signal, and the incorrect signal tells the fibrin, which rests and resides between the layers of fascia of the body. It's part of a protectant and lubricant and all these things in there. Well, what happens is it tells it, well, it's okay to kind of go haywire. When that occurs, as a result, the fibrin in the body begins to grow. It's just like a seed. You know, once the seed starts and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Fibromyalgia, or fibrinous tissue, as I kind of prefer to call it, resides in the large, heavy muscles of the body, mostly, like the trapezius, the rhomboids. When it's enough, you can get it in the buttocks and in the legs and all kinds of places. I've seen some people with remarkable amounts of it. Well, this goes in and corrects it, disallows that condition, and the body then reabsorbs it back over a period of time, which is much, much faster. Exactly, than when it began to occur. So it's a very, very simple formula that works in a very simple manner, and that was the first of the metabolic formulas that I designed very successfully. As a note, the first design worked perfectly. We actually called it DS1. It stood for dissolve, number 1, the formula, but it actually doesn't dissolve it. The body reabsorbs it back and then basically just eliminates it out of the body.
Yeah, I actually have some of the original DS1 here in my office. And of course, and here's the more commercially successful
there we go.
proper looking label. So we have definitely upgraded the situation from this to this, right?
Very much.
And so Elijah, how does this relate back to people who have all these other symptoms that are associated with inflammatory autoimmune disorders? I mean, there are all these other things that come into play. They could be things like chronic fatigue or headaches, backaches, you know, all the other symptoms that run along typically in this cluster of problems.
Well, fibromyalgia syndrome, we have to remember the word syndrome after that. Actually, this is one of our patented formulas, and the patent was paid for by a very wonderful neurologist down in Southern California. And one of the things he always would talk about syndrome, he says syndrome basically means we really don't know what's going on. Think of it this way. You've got 10 people and their cars won't start. So they call the mechanic, and the one guy may say, well, you've all got car won't start-itis. The similar symptom is none of your cars would start. Well, someone comes down and looks at these, and one person, even though the symptoms is the main one, the car won't start, what they see is, well, you're out of gas, you don't have your keys, you threw an engine rod, you don't have any oil, you don't have this. Everybody has a different cause, but yet the symptom looks the same. This is what we call a one-trick pony formula, but the trick is great. It's like the pony can leap over the Grand Canyon. So in terms of fibrinous tissue, really autoimmune doesn't really come into this. People get very tired with this and exhausted because they don't sleep well. Fibrinous tissue is several times denser than regular tissue. So as a result, what happens is it's always constantly pulling toward the point of least resistance. When that happens, it keeps you awake at night, you don't rest. So it can tire down the system quite dramatically. When this happens, people can get other symptoms. But the main thing that it corrects is, again, that chemical chain, incorrect one, that allows the fibrinous tissue. I've seen people who can't do much of anything. As they recover from this, their lives recur once again, only because some of the symptomology of other things disappear because of the fact that they're happier, out of pain, can move, eat better, and those type of things.
Well, we have been dealing with all kinds of people who are told that they have fibromyalgia, and they present with a variety of symptoms, the ones that I just mentioned, you know, the fatigue, the relentless pain, the brain fog, those kind of issues. So this fibrin dissolving formula doesn't specifically address those. They need to be addressed in a different way.
Yes, those symptoms may be a secondary effect of having the fibrinous tissue because how it affects their life. But we would call those secondary effects on that. They may come from something else. The person with the brain fog may have something else totally, or maybe their neck's out of place. Or because of the heavy amount of fibrin, it may be pulling their neck out of place. But for fibrinous tissue, this really, really works great. One important thing is, a lot of my formulas are very specific for those things, which is why they work so well. You try to do too many things with a formula, it's going, well, I got a nice dinner I made here. It's all in one pot, and it's a combination of Italian food and a dessert and Chinese food and Thai food and Greek food all in one dish, and you go, blah. Separately, they're fantastic and they're the most wonderful things, but you try to do too many things with a formula sometimes, you can lose the impact. I try to keep mine very streamlined, very to the point, and very specific, which is why they do what they do.